Alright, a very good afternoon, everybody. Let me just check if we're live yet or not. Give me a moment as I confirm if we're live. Yeah, we're live. Okay, so today's class is essentially a wrap up on the vocabulary and grammar series that we've been undertaking for a couple of weeks now. So today's class is essentially rounding up all that, and tomorrow onwards, we'll begin with critical reasoning practice. From tomorrow, the sessions will be at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thus far, I'd been conducting sessions at 1 p.m., but from tomorrow, it'll be at 10 a.m. Right? So that's the change in the schedule that will be enforced from tomorrow. But concluding my sessions daily lives at 1 p.m. today with a spotting error practice. Right. And as always before we begin with the drill, allow me to quickly bring my session daily lives at 1 p.m. today with a spotting error. Yeah. So before we begin with the practice, allow me to quickly give you a small introduction about myself. I'm Prankur Sir. I'm going to be your instructor on this journey of learning, and the idea being that I've been in the learning industry for a while. I've been a trainer, a coach for a while. I've even consulted with the multinational organizations on different aspects of learning and development organizations such as Becton Dickinson, Interglobe, Marico, PC, and the likes. I published a book as well. Wrote this book called It's Not Funny. It's a work of satirical fiction, comedic humor, right? And this book even garnered glowing testimonials from the likes of Papa CJ and Biswa Sarkar. I hold advanced certifications in facilitation from American organization known as Leadership Management International, and I co-founded this company called Sutra, and we're trying to evangelize and democratize the learning of creative arts. These are the various subscription models that Unacademy works on. You can clearly see as the time period goes up, the cost of subscription per month goes down dramatically. And if you use my name Prankur, you'll get an extra 10% off any of the subscriptions that we go for. And said that, let's begin with the first question of the day. Just give me a moment. I think there's some kind of error. Oh, just a moment. Okay, let's try. This is the first question. You can see the sentence says the economic disparity has grown rapidly in the era of globalization. Right. So we are discussing the economic disparity has grown. Now this word rapid is describing the growth, right? So this has got to be an adverb, and to turn this word into an adverb, we'll add an ly. The economic disparity has grown rapidly in the era of globalization? Let's look at the next question. A free press is not a privilege, but the organic necessity in a free society. A free press is not a privilege, right? So we're using an article here, but the organic necessity in a free society. Now we can clearly see the word organic is beginning with an O, right? So this article has got to be an and not the, right? The article that we use here has got to be an because the word organic is beginning with a vowel, right? So free press is not a privilege, but an organic necessity in a free society, right? Let's move on to the next question. Hey guys, so here we are conducting classes over a YouTube live, but on the Unacademy platform, the learning management system that Unacademy has devised on its platform, it includes quite a lot of features, right? Features such as a live chat wherein you can ask questions, you can spark off a discussion, you can clear your doubts. There's a special portion just for questions. Similarly, the question answers, such as this one that we conduct there, are conducted in the form of live polls, right? So you can participate in those live polls, and essentially you're competing for a place on the leaderboard. Because at the end of the class, the leaderboard is broadcast to anybody and everybody who is partaking in that lesson, right? So it is it is an adrenaline rush to participate in the live polls and to compete for a place on the leaderboard. It's another experience altogether. I would encourage you to check it out, and you can unlock all my so I've conducted quite a lot of free classes on the platform. They are called special classes, and similarly all educators conduct a lot of special classes. So you can unlock all that using my name Prankur as your code, right? And they're all free. Okay, hi Jayesh, welcome to the class 4. Yes, you perfectly right. This has got to be then. No sooner did the nurse enter the house than the patient died. Sooner than, right? So because this is a comparative clause. Let's look at the next question. What do you think about this one, Jayesh? Okay, 3. Uh, why 3? So understand what is the sentence saying. We cannot handle this complicated case unless full details are given to us, right? Not here becomes redundant. right? This becomes a case of double negative. You have an unless and you have a not as well, right? So this becomes a case of a double negative. If we are writing unless, we don't need to insert not. Unless full details are given to us is a perfectly fine sentence. This becomes a double negative which we want to avoid. Unless भी यूज कर रहे हैं, not भी बोल रहे हैं, तो that is a clear case of a double negative. Right? Unless means the same thing. Either you say we cannot handle this complicated case if full details are not given to us, or we say we cannot handle this complicated case unless full details are given to us. Right? So not is something that we have to avoid here. Yeah. Three, latter. Exactly. This has got to be latter. The latter part. The latter part. Right? So, what happens is late ka, a comparative form, we have later, right? And we have latter, right? Now, later is in terms of time, right? But latter is basically used to refer to second of two objects. Second of two objects. That is the difference between later and latter. He arrived later, or uh, between Ram and Shyam. Shyam was the was the one who Shyam was the latter son between Ram and Shyam, right? So latter is second of the two objects, but later is when we're referring to time. So well done, Jayesh. Let's look at the next question. 4. In front of the investigation. Not in front of the investigation committee, required to appear before. You appear before a bench. You appear before an investigation committee. Right? Not in front of. This will be before. But you're right that 2 is the wrong preposition here. So yeah, let's look at the next question. You're right, this will be has not. Why? Because we're talking about uh, the proportion. The proportion is a singular subject. Despite the increasing number of women graduating from law school and passing bar examinations, the proportion of judges, which is a singular subject, right? Singular subject. The proportion of judges and partners at major law firms who are women has not risen comparably. Well done. According to scholars, the earliest writing was probably not a direct rendering of speech, but was more likely to begin as a separate and distinct symbolic system of communication and only later merged with spoken language. I'll give you a hint. Five letter. What is five letter? Okay, later. All right. So the idea here is understand, Jayesh, that the sentence isn't past tense, right? When you look at all the verbs, the sentence isn't past tense. According to scholars, the earliest writing was past tense. Probably not a direct rendering of speech, but this has to be in past tense as well. But and plus, when you're using more, you never use more alone. You always use more than, right? You always use more than. So, but more than likely, more than likely, began. See, we need the verb to be in past tense. Began. यहाँ पे begin है, हमें क्या चाहिए, हमें began चाहिए. But more than likely began as a separate and distinct symbolic system of communication and only later merged. Again, look at how this verb is in past tense as well, right? So the entire sentence has to be constructed in past tense. That is why the error is in part 3. ठीक है? Hope you've understood this. Let's move on to the next question now. Three, more than a tool to manipulate. Okay. So यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Critics contend that the new missile is weapon whose importance is largely symbolic, more a tool. यहाँ पे than तो है ना, more and than है. So sometimes you can separate more and than by saying more x than y, and x and y they need to be parallel, right? More x than y. Now understand, यहाँ पे preposition for use हो रही है और आपका verb है manipulating, but here यहाँ पे preposition to use हो रही है तो आपका verb है fulfill. So both of these need to be parallel, right? X and y components, they need to be uniform when you're using more than, right? So to manipulate, to more a tool to manipulate, uh, more a tool to manipulate, to fulfill, right? Either it can be to manipulate and to fulfill, or it can be for manipulating, more a tool for manipulating than for fulfilling. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे more भी है, than भी है, just that the x and y components have to be parallel. Either use the preposition to in both scenarios, or use the preposition for and the continuous form of the verb in both scenarios, right? To manipulate, to fulfill, for manipulating, for fulfilling, right? Both are all right, but you've got it right. Third part contains the error. Well done. Let's look at the next question. What do you make of this one? D. D is correct. Discourse on Women, a treatise that argued for equal and political rights for women and for changes. So this will be for X and for Y, right? So you're right. D is the correct answer. Well done. Three is the correct answer. However, the correct phrasing for this, Jayesh, would be along with the drop in producer prices announced yesterday, the strong retail sales figures released today seem हम लोग we want to avoid the use of the pronoun it, right? What is this pronoun it referring to? What is it referring to? It का reference क्या है? किसके लिए हम use कर रहे हैं ये pronoun, right? So the correct phrasing would be seem. Along with the drop in producer prices announced yesterday, the strong retail sales figures released today seem to indicate that that the economy, although growing slowly, is not nearing a recession. So we want to avoid the usage of the pronoun it, क्योंकि pronoun हम noun के लिए use करते हैं, right? तो it का कोई reference तो है नहीं. There is no noun that it is referring to, so we'll avoid the usage of the pronoun here. But you're right, the third part contained the error, just that the phrasing would be this: seem to indicate that the economy, although growing slowly, is not nearing a recession. Let's look at the next question. 4. Okay, 4 is correct. This should be fetching unprecedented prices exciting and exciting enormous interest whenever they were put on show. The end of the 18th century saw the emergence of price stock breeding, with individual bulls and cows receiving awards, fetching unprecedented prices, and exciting enormous interest. So the verb forms receiving, fetching, and exciting, they need to be parallel. Well done. Let's look at the next question. What do you make of this, Jayesh? What do you think is the part that contains the error? Part 4, fourth is the correct answer. Why? Based on the cultivation of such crops. Cultivation is a noun, exploitation is a noun, whereas harvesting is a verb. So this should be harvesting of fish and seafood, so that it is parallel with cultivation of such crops and exploitation of other wild and domestic resources. You're right, Jayesh. Fourth part contains the error. Why? Because look at the other verb, other components, right? It is a list of three components. It is based on three things. Number one, cultivation of such crops as corn and bees. Number two, harvesting of fish and seafood. And number three, exploitation of other wild and domestic resources. So cultivation and exploitation are nouns, because they're using the preposition of. Similarly, harvesting in the sentence originally was inserted as a verb, but we need to convert this into a noun by inserting the preposition of. Okay? Cultivation of, harvesting of, and exploitation of. Now all these three components are parallel. So fourth is the correct answer. Well done. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. Understand here, Jayesh, that second part is only a modifier, right? So whenever we have modifiers, you can try to find what the subject is of the sentence, number one, and what the verb is, right? See whether the subject and the verb are in agreement before moving on to modifiers. Now, second and the third part, this is a huge modifier. Modifiers are always inserted on top of the base construction of a sentence. They don't really tamper with the grammar of the sentence. Okay. What is the subject? The subject is letters. Emily Dickinson's letters. Letters is plural, right? Letters is plural. Emily Dickinson's letters to Susan Huntington Dickinson outnumbers, this is singular, whereas our subject is plural. The verb is singular but the subject is plural, so this is a clear case of subject verb agreement error, right? The error is of subject verb agreement because my subject is plural whereas my verb is singular, so this will be outnumber. Emily Dickinson's letters to Susan Huntington Dickinson outnumber her letters to anyone else. This second and the third part, the both of these make up a very huge modifier which does not really tamper with the grammar of the rest of the sentence. Modifiers, understand, are always inserted on top of the base construction of the sentence. Base construction means your subject and your verb. Okay, so the fourth part here contained the error. Let's look at the next question. Choose the correct sentence here out of the four. Part 3, neither Gopal nor Ramesh. Now understand, whenever we have neither nor construction, Gopal and Ramesh have not finished their work, right? So this is incorrect. Gopal and Ramesh again have not finished their work, right? Because my subject becomes plural by the usage of and. Neither Gopal nor Ramesh has finished his work. So neither, जब भी neither nor construction होता है, neither x nor y, neither x nor y के केस में our verb always corresponds to the y component here. If my y component is Ramesh, right? So the noun or the noun phrase that makes up my y component, if it is plural, the verb will be plural. If it is singular, the verb will be singular. Here it is singular, right? So therefore my verb has to be singular as well. Neither Gopal nor Ramesh has finished his work. So the third sentence is also incorrect. Fourth one is correct. Neither Gopal nor Ramesh has finished his work. ठीक है? We're not able to do it. The widely accepted Big Bang theory holds that the universe began in an explosive instant, uh, 10 to 20 billion years ago, and has been expanding ever since. Why? Because it started in the past and it is continuing into the present, right? Is expanding means that something is happening right now. But clearly, the Big Bang theory holds that the universe began. So it began 10 to 20 billion years ago and it has been expanding ever since. So it started in the past and it is continuing into the present, right? So this will be past, present perfect continuous has been expanding ever since. You're right, Jayesh, you got this right. Hi Saloni, as the sales, alright, let's look at it. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking about one company, right? We are talking about one company. This it's refers to what? This refers to company, right? As its sales of computer products have surpassed those of measuring instruments, the company, this is singular, right? Company is singular. The company uh, has become increasingly willing to compete for the mass market sales. दे किसके लिए है ये? This is plural. This is plural. This is plural, whereas we are talking about one company, right? We are talking about one company. So this pronoun should be singular as well. इसकी जगह क्या होना चाहिए? इसकी जगह होना चाहिए it. Because we are using the pronoun it here, we know for a fact that we are talking about one company. We are using a singular verb as well. So this pronoun needs to be singular as well. As its sales of computer products have surpassed those of measuring instruments, the company has become increase has became तो नहीं होगा ना, has become ही होगा Jayesh, has become increasingly willing to compete for the mass market sales it would in the past have conceded to rivals. So the fourth part contains the error. ठीक है? Let's look at the next question now. Suggest that. Exactly. This should be suggest that. A surge and a drop. So X and Y. This is your subject and this is always plural. Right? So we need a plural verb to go along with it. Therefore, this has to be suggest that the economy might not be as weak as some analysts previously thought. Okay. Yes, but supplemented. You're right. This will be but supplemented because the sentence is in past tense. Sentence is in past tense. The Iroquois were primarily planters but supplemented their cultivation of maize, squash, and beans with fishing and hunting. Well done, Jayesh. Has भी नहीं आएगा. Using accounts of various ancient writers, scholars have painted a sketchy picture of the activities of an all-female cult, perhaps as early as the 6th century, that perhaps as early as the 6th century BC, worshipped. Because this is simple past tense, so we don't need has to go along with it. Simply, it will be worshipped a goddess known in Latin as Bonadea, the good goddess. So, fourth answer is the correct answer. The fourth part contains the error and the verb has to be in simple past tense worshipped. ठीक है. So, bought in second sentence, there is perfect present tense. You're talking about the previous question? No, not really. Oh, yeah. Using accounts of, okay, understand Jayesh, using accounts of various ancient writers, scholars have painted a sketchy picture of the activities, right? You're right, यहाँ पे we are using present perfect, which is have painted. But understand that scholars have painted this right now. They're doing it right now, right? Whereas when you talk about the cult, they worshipped a goddess in 6th century. 6th century में हुआ था worshipping, right? So when something happened in the past, right? It started in the past and it ended in the past. That's why we will use worshipped here. Whereas this will be in present perfect. Why? Because this just happened, right? This just happened. That is why this will be present perfect. Whereas this started in the past and ended in the past. That is why it will be simple past. So यहाँ पे you will not look at parallelism, you will look at the meaning of the sentence, right? What is the context? This thing happened right now, whereas this thing happened in 6th century BC, right? This started in the past and it ended in the past. They worshipped Bonadia in 6th century, whereas scholars have painted the picture right now, right? So there's difference in the context, there's difference in the meaning of the two components of the sentence. One is happening right now, and the other part is something that happened back in 6th century. ठीक है? Hope you've understood this. Nidhi says one and Jayesh says fourth. Okay. Protected. Okay. For members of the 17th century Ashanti nation in Africa, animal hide shields with wooden frames were essentially items of military equipment. Now understand, fourth part contains the error, right? Protecting warriors. Is this the right preposition? Do you protect somebody before somebody or do you protect somebody from somebody? Protecting warriors from enemy arrows and spears or protecting warriors against enemy arrows and spears, right? What does before mean here? Before is the incorrect preposition. Okay, the verb is all right, protecting is all right, but the preposition is incorrect. You protect somebody from something or protect somebody against something. You don't protect somebody before something. All right. Next question. Part 4. Uh, what are we talking about? We are talking about a risk corridor, right? A risk corridor is a singular subject, right? So, singular subject means we need a singular verb as well. A risk corridor is one of the main provisions, albeit not the only one, that protects the insurance industry from hitting rock bottom as it did earlier in the decade. Right? So Nidhi got this right. Third part contains the error. Why? Because we're talking about a singular subject. So it needs a singular verb to go along with it. How about this one? Nidhi, Jayesh, Saloni, what do you guys think about this one? Nidhi says the second one. Why? What is the error in the second part? Getting adequate sleep of full 8 hours every night, the depth of which will be enhanced by a regular regimen of physical exercise, has significant consequences not only for one's immediate short term health but also for the immune system's ability to fight over the long term. So, this is not only X but also Y. The correlative is not only X but also Y. Okay. That's all right, Nidhi. Don't lose heart. It's this is only practice, right? So you're gonna get it right once you practice enough. Everything here is correct, no error. No, essentially, uh, second part contains the error. Why? Because we are using past perfect tense here, whereas we can simply use lost. Simple past is more suitable here. Had lost. See, we use past perfect tense when we are talking about two actions that happened in the past and one action preceded the second action. Right? There, the first action takes the past perfect form and the second action takes the simple past form. But here, there is only one event that happened in the past, right? So, therefore, we don't need past perfect tense here. We can simply say when the company lost 7.4 billion, which is primarily because of 7 billion in accounting charges. Okay? So this was slightly complicated, but essentially the idea is that you use past perfect tense only when there are two actions that happened in the past and one action precedes the second action. Okay, so guys, these are a few toppers from the Unacademy, from within the Unacademy subscribers. These are a few batches that are running right now. You can, start learning from all of these educators for free and see whether you would want to join their batches or not. Plus, today at 5 p.m., we are running the Unacademy Champions League. So do partake in that test. It is for free. You can use my name to essentially unlock the test, and if you perform well, you will get these Amazon vouchers or 1 month subscription to the platform. When to know which tense to use, Jayesh, I'll come to that. Let me schedule another session only on tenses. Though I've already done that, you can look through my playlist and there will be a class pertaining to tenses, right? That is how you'll figure out which tense to use when. And from tomorrow onwards, I'll take my classes at 10 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow, I'm beginning with critical reasoning, right? So, do tune in if you want to study about critical reasoning or verbal reasoning. And yeah, I'll see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye bye.